What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to another episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Tom Raymer.
We are getting closer and closer to Halloween, which means we need to be discussing a film that we probably should have discussed a long time ago, except it is incredibly hard to find.
Unless you want to just buy it.
Unless you want to buy it. I was able to rent it from my library.
Yeah, mine didn't have it.
But it's not streaming anywhere. At least not now. So, but it is perfectly in alignment with the theme of this month.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Halloween.
Yes, so we are finally talking the 2013 basically found footage movie, WNUF Halloween Special.
Basically found footage movie. What was that shot?
I mean,
it's as much found footage as, oh God, what was that? British, the
one that this obviously took inspiration
from?
Ghostwatch.
Ghostwatch.
Will you tell me how many minutes of Ghostwatch are commercials, and then we'll talk about it?
Okay. Yes, I really like those commercials. I understand that they themselves are not found footage, but when you put it all together and someone recorded that off of their television, that's what would have been there. There would have been commercials.
And they fast forward, not enough of them, but they do fast forward through to make it clear it's a recorded thing.
Back then, you couldn't skip the commercials. You couldn't DVR or something. You had to tape the commercials. So
back then, in 2013, when this was,
but it was supposed to be,
and it feels it, because I will tell you, one thing I will say about this is I did not know it was made in 2013. I actually thought for a second when I was watching it, I thought it came out in the 80s, which would have meant that it came out before Ghostwatch. So I was like, dang. This came out, and then I realized
but think about that. They did such a good job.
No, it's very
making 80s. It look like and aging it somehow.
It looks very legit.
The commercials feel like
everything,
real 80s. There were some of them that I actually was wondering. I know they're not, but they so reminded me of actual commercials. From my childhood, and so like I was really digging the commercials. I know that's like, maybe you're seeing that as cheating as far as found footage is concerned, like filling in a lot of gaps, but I think it's sort of realistic. If there was footage that was somehow saved off of a broadcast from the time, it would have commercials. So I didn't have a problem with that.
So basically, if you're not familiar with this one, this is the premise. A local TV personality leads a team of supernatural investigators, including an exorcist, into the darkest corners of a supposedly haunted house. I mean, it's a horror comedy, which is not Angel's favorite thing in the world, but yeah. So I mean,
we said the name of the film, right? Did we do our little?
We did our spazzazzles.
I
was thinking when we did it, I was wondering if I could make a pumpkin shape in it. I'll get there. I'll figure it out.
I'm getting old, right? Like
What was it recently? You were like, oh, let's do spoilers, or he's like, oh, I guess we need to do. I'm like, we haven't even done our reviews. I mean, our tapes yet.
we film these episodes late at night, so
we do film them late at night. That's true. So okay, so I'll be quiet for a minute, and then you tell me what you thought of WNUF Halloween Special.
It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that it's fun. It is really interesting that it was made in 2013. It feels
it's super impressive, honestly.
That's like the most impressive thing. It's ridiculous. It is basically Ghostwatch, but Ghostwatch and I feel like maybe somebody told us this, or we've maybe on one of our past episodes, or guests we had, or something. I feel like someone mentioned WNUF and said it was basically like an American version of Ghost Watch.
It was Matt Blasey.
Was it Matt?
Yeah.
And it feels like that.
Yeah.
It's more lighthearted and sillier than Ghost Watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think, unlike Ghost Watch, there's no chance you would think this was real.
Sure.
There's moments where some of the acting is just not good enough for it to possibly be real. Mm-hmm. Some of it is, but some of it's just not. They're just obviously actors. Whereas that is not a problem with the movie Ghost Watch. You could argue that whole thing feels real.
Yeah.
I think it is really a fun movie to watch this time of year. Not super scary. Not scary at all.
No.
More silly, but I'm not. Some of it, I think it's intended to be silly, and other moments, I think, are not intended to be silly, but are. But America is waiting to hear what you have to say, Angel, because we can all read it on your face. You are not a fan of this movie.
No. And let me start by saying a couple of things, because I know that the person who created this is active on social media and is probably going to see us post this. I believe in being honest but respectful, right? So two things. I liked the ending. Thought the ending was a unique. I didn't see it really going the way that it ended as far as what's actually happening. I thought that was good. The other thing is I think you could show this to someone who's not on social media, who isn't like, and they would not know that this didn't come from the 80s. Like there was such and it's like I was saying, like there genuinely was times where I was like, okay, so this had to have come out before Ghost Watch, right? And then I was like, 2013. So I am very impressed with the way this looks from start to finish. It feels like we are in the 80s. Like somebody pulled this tape out of their parents' basement or something.
It really does.
And that's what we're watching.
Yep.
I do not do silly things. I think it's I think it's a big stretch to put the word horror in any genre related or subgenre and related to this, because it's just comedy.
I think the word is cartoony. It's like a caricature. You know, right?
And it's very much like well, and I will tell you the Frank or whoever the TV personality. I thought he was funny. I laughed a lot at him because he was very much like, oh, like he had these moments where he would say stuff that would make me laugh, but the commercials got under my skin in a way that and the thing is there are people who genuinely love this film, who think it's great. It's their go-to Halloween. They feel very nostalgic when they watch it. They love the commercials. They think they're fun and they're engaging, and that's great. It was really difficult for me to not fast forward them, like really difficult for me.
Oh man, I really like that. But I would not watch this for like annually for nostalgia, because it's not actually from the 80s.
Sure.
Like it reminds me of that time, and I guess maybe that's the same sort of thing. But like I watch a lot of movies that are actually from the 80s for nostalgic reasons.
Sure.
But if you go into this movie like thinking I want to watch a fun Halloween found footage movie that's not taking itself quite as seriously as some of the other films that we talk about on this show, then I think you might still appreciate it. Because I think it's a very Halloween-y film, and if you just are looking for
consumer commercialism, like it's very like this is what Halloween is actually about, like I really, really, really didn't like this one. There's a sequel that takes place
I want to watch it
in the 90s, and guess what it's about?
I don't.
Aliens.
Not as interested in aliens.
See, I am, I love, but I don't want funny aliens. I don't want funny aliens. So if it's done the same way as this,
Right. Right.
yeah. This just isn't, and it's fun. Like, I had no idea what I was going into, Tom. I think that's like a big part of the problem.
I don't know. I had a feeling it was gonna be silly.
I didn't
Um,
see. I was thinking Ghost Watch, and that's maybe my bad, but a
yeah.
lot of stuff when we get these random like recommendations, I typically do try to go into them blind, and I knew nothing. I didn't watch a trailer, I didn't see clips, I didn't look at nothing. Like I didn't even
Yeah.
know that it was a comedy. Like I didn't know. So I think
I'm not
that
sure is it a comedy?
it's titled as a comedy horror.
Is it? Okay. Well,
So
there
I
you go.
think that that's the problem though, is I went in not prepared for that. So then all it did was irritate me.
So I guess one thing that I really appreciated and that I think a lot of people who just like love all things Halloween will appreciate is that it has that vibe. It has that feel. If you just love going into Spirit Halloween, if you
Yeah,
love Halloween 3 Season of the Witch and you just want that sort of feeling. I know you're really angry. I just dropped that right
I'm
there.
very angry that you just dropped
Because but that movie has the same sort of
as far as
nostalgic
it feeling like
Halloween sort of
Halloween.
feel. Yep.
Okay, I'll
Uh,
allow it.
and I feel like this movie has that feel. I'm not saying it is as good as those movies, but I think it's just fun and lighthearted. Right? Lighthearted, which is not a word I think I've ever used to describe a found footage film.
I don't think
Lighthearted.
I don't think so either. Yeah. Yeah, no, it feels like Halloween
Yeah.
for like a child, like if I were young. Halloween when you're an adult is different.
Right. Right. Yeah, you could get away with showing this movie to your kids probably.
You really could. It's really not
Yeah.
that crazy. And it doesn't even have like the first F word until like the last 3 minutes of the movie.
Right. That's true. Um, so we should do our rating. We're this far in and we haven't even done our ratings yet.
Yes.
You go first this time.
Okay. This rating is strictly based on the fact that I do think that the anchor or whatever he is, the TV personality is funny.
Right. Yeah.
And the fact that I did like the ending and the fact that it very much feels like, again, like a tape you found in your parents' basement or something. So I am going to give WNUF Halloween Special 2.5 stars out of 10.
Oh,
Y'all know, look, anybody watching the show, if the creator of this ends up
that's
watching
brutal.
this, it may be brutal, but you know that I don't like funny horror
I
things. Like,
don't okay, I don't either,
yeah, but
but
you're not as hard on it as I am though. Like I'm like you liked 99 better than 85, and I
I
did not agree with that.
but typically I don't like to mix my comedy and my horror.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
feel like this sort of I don't know, I feel like I knew what this was. I did know what this
And
was
I think I
going in.
genuinely wonder if that would have made the difference for me. If I
Maybe.
had gone in knowing what I was going into, or that if I had known 90% of it was going to be funny Halloween commercials, I like honestly, I don't even know if you could have gotten me to do it for the show. If I'd known those things
Really.
going in, I would have been like, I'm not sitting through that. That sounds awful. But I think it's just very important to note that my rating is the way that it is because I do not like stuff like this.
Yeah.
I loved Ghost Watch. I loved how real and spooky it was. And it still had the same energy as far as feeling like Halloween. But knowing that I've seen that and that people were saying it was like set up like that, that's what I went
Yeah,
in with. And so when it
I
was
see.
really silly and just fun, I wasn't in the frame of mind for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
So
I think see, I think if this movie actually had been scary, my rating would have been really high. Like and so that
okay.
said, I did just still really enjoy it. I wasn't scared. I It wasn't like it's not going to be on my top whatever list of found footage films,
Sure.
but I just had fun with it, and I thought it was it that like this is the kind of movie like I might I just for funsies might rewatch on next Halloween, like in season, you know what I mean? But so I'm gonna give this movie 5.5 tapes out of 10. And as I said, if it actually had if the scare level had been up on this, I think it would have been a very high rated movie because I think it would have had everything I want, like a Halloween. But and there's not many of them. There are not
There
many,
really
oddly enough,
isn't.
found footage movies that take place in October or take place on the Halloween season. You got the Hell House series,
In
obviously.
October.
You got the
Houses
Houses October built. I'm not even sure. I'm like blanking. Are there even others? And so I feel like there's like it's a little bit of a niche here. There's like I don't know. It's filling a need. I feel like people really want that. I mean, this is the time of year more people are watching horror.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's weird to think about because there's so many Christmas horror movies, like so many.
yeah,
And there's like not that many, like even
at least
outside of
not
found
found footage.
footage.
Yeah,
But even outside of found footage, there's not that many. Like if you completely remove the entire franchise of Halloween, because that's
oh,
obviously the
yeah,
premise,
right.
there's
Obviously,
really
yeah.
not that many. There's like a
Other
few
than
that
that,
other than the franchise that is built around it. But I
yeah,
just mean in what you would think though.
yeah.
I
You
mean,
know, it's interesting. It's interesting,
yeah.
and so for that, I was like, yeah, I mean, I want more of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I also, for me, for a movie to be a very high rated found footage film, it's got to. The whole point of found footage is that I've sort of tricked myself, as I've said before. I know these are not real movies, but like
Yeah.
there's something in your brain that it feels a little scarier because it feels a little realer.
Mhm.
That's nothing that you would mistakenly um, take away from this movie. Nobody is going to think this was a real broadcast, and nobody's probably going to be scared by it unless you are in the third grade, and then maybe not even. But
Yeah.
that's okay. It's still fun, and I still
No,
think it has its place.
this has a place and an audience because people
Yep.
love this. When I posted that I was watching it, people were
Yeah,
interested in
I
the fact.
totally get it. I totally get it. Just like people like cheesy holiday things, whether it's cheesy
Yeah.
Halloween things, cheesy um, you know, people have been watching the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown for however many years,
That's a
decades.
cute one.
Okay, but it's nostalgic. It's fun,
Mhm.
light-hearted,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so this is the I got a rock of found footage films. It's the Charlie Brown found footage films.
I knew some genre footage. There'll be one movie in the category. Yeah, I don't even know. Like, okay, so I guess there's a few things we could talk about in spoilers. Cause I mean, we're
Yep.
not gonna talk about the commercials. They are what they are, they're funny or whatever. But the biggest point of this, we're going into spoilers, is that this TV person is basically taking around Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? Like you got
It's
that.
Ed and Lorraine Warren, but it's like cartoon versions of them,
Yeah.
right? They're
That's
carrying around their little cat, you know, right?
when they when they were at the house, he was like, he was so serious with his microphone. He was like, "Oh, there's some crazy stuff going on here, folks."
Yeah, and they're like, can I? He like refers to the guy by his first name. He's like, or would you prefer doctor or whatever? And he's like, actually, I prefer doctor. And it's just like so ridiculous and over the top.
Yeah.
And also he's going around and he's like interviewing just the locals, I guess. So we're spoiling now, but he's
Yeah.
interviewing the locals, and they literally must have just pulled people like off the street. Like some of them, the acting was that in that sort of thing is not something you really experience with ghost watch. It does pull you out a little bit. I don't think most of the acting was like that. I think most of the acting was really good.
Yeah, the anchors and the
Yeah.
main.
Not that the psychics or whatever, the two of them, the couple.
But I
Yeah,
think they were meant to be bad. So,
cartoony.
okay,
Yeah,
so I will say this. If the movie had been just that, I would have thought it was very funny. Like, if it had been just him walking around the house making fun of these people and how ridiculous they were, I would have ate that up because that was some of the best parts. But it was literally, what, 15, 20 minutes of the whole movie? So,
yeah, yeah.
anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so I mean that's basically that's the gist. And they go into this house, and there's a priest, and definitely some plot holes with the priest as well. Um, they want him to do an exorcism
Because
on
he's
the
a
house,
paid, yeah,
on
because
the
he's a
house,
paid actor. And so
right?
they had already knew they were going to ask him to do that.
Yeah.
And he's like,
So first off, can you do an exorcism on a house? I don't even know. Like, is that a
they
thing?
do it on Ghost Adventures all the time. On
On the house. Okay, I thought it
the
was something you do
location.
on a person. Okay.
They go and they
Um,
bury crucifixes in the
but
yard, and it's
he
like a
makes
whole.
this whole show of like, well, I'd have to talk to the church. The church would have to approve this, and then he's like, no, we really